In this chapter, we're going to focus on the following 10 keywords: hurtle, potential, hospitable, controversial, lavish, revere, veto, orthodox, wince, and trivial. Now let's start with the first keyword, hurtle. Now we can see in this picture two men hurrying somewhere, maybe because there's a problem and maybe they're trying to solve this problem so quickly before it turns into a disaster. So could that be related to the word hurtle? Let's find out. A hurtle is a verb. If someone or something hurtles somewhere, they move there very quickly, often in a rough or violent way. For example, a pretty young girl came hurtling down the stairs. And synonyms for hurtle are the words rush, charge, race, or shoot. So the next time you remember the picture of these two men rushing somewhere, remember the word hurtle and what it means. And now for the next keyword, potential. Now if you look at this picture, you can see that the guy is trying to show them a small graph that shows the profit and loss in a pie chart. But do you think that we have accurate numbers or results? Or maybe he's trying to predict what's going to happen to the business. So if it is the future and this is only a prediction, can we say that this is a potential result? What does potential mean? Let's find out. Potential is an adjective. You use potential to say that someone or something is capable of developing into the particular kind of person or thing mentioned. For example, the firm has identified 60 potential customers at home and abroad. Well, do they have the customers yet? Not yet, but they are potential customers. They are possible customers. And synonyms for potential are the words hidden, possible, inherent, and dormant. We can use potentially as an adverb. For example, we can say, clearly this is a potentially dangerous situation. Potential can also be used as a noun. If you say that someone or something has potential, you mean that they have the necessary abilities or qualities to become successful or useful in the future. For example, we say the boy has great potential. You're saying that this boy has what it takes to become successful or useful in the future. Or the school strives to help each student to achieve their full potential, their full capacity for success. And synonyms for potential in this context are the words ability, possibilities, capacity, or capability. And potential can also be used in one more context. If you say that someone or something has potential for doing a particular thing, you mean that it is possible they may do it. If there is the potential for something, it may happen. For example, John seemed as horrified as I about his potential for violence. It can happen. Or we say the potential for conflict is great. Also, this may happen. So the next time you remember this picture of this man showing this pie chart of profit and loss, remember the word potential and what it means. And now let's move to the next keyword, hospitable. Now, if you look at the picture, it's very simple. It's the picture of a door, and we have a doormat that says welcome on it. The doormat doesn't have to be like the people we're going to meet inside the house or the owners of the house. But what if the owners reflect this very simple word imprinted on their doormat, welcome? If they are welcoming, can we say that they are hospitable? What does hospitable mean? Let's find out. A hospitable is an adjective. A hospitable person is friendly, generous, and welcoming to guests or people they have just met. For example, the locals are hospitable and welcoming. It's not because they know you. On the contrary, they don't know you. They've just met you, but they are friendly, generous, and welcoming. They are hospitable. And synonyms for hospitable are the words welcoming, kind, and friendly. Hospitable can also be used in a different context. A hospitable climate or environment is one that encourages the existence or development of particular people or things. For example, even in summer, this place did not look exactly hospitable. And synonyms for hospitable in this context are the words receptive, tolerant, responsive, and open-minded. So the next time you remember this doormat with the word welcome imprinted on it, remember the word hospitable and what it means. And now we move to the next key word, controversial. Now, if you look at the picture, you can see there is a kind of argument or discussion, we may say, and it doesn't seem that everybody is agreeing on one thing or another. So maybe they're talking about something that is hard to agree on, or it's hard that everybody agrees on that thing. Can we call this thing controversial? What is the meaning of controversial? Let's find out. Now, controversial is an adjective. If you describe something or someone as controversial, you mean that they are the subject of intense public argument, disagreement, or disapproval. For example, immigration is a controversial issue in many countries. It is not something that everybody agrees on. There is usually a lot of argument, disagreement, and disapproval about the issue of immigration. Another example, when it was first suggested that passive smoking was harmful, the idea was controversial and the evidence thin. Not everybody welcomed the idea at first. The synonyms of controversial are the words disputed, contended, contentious, or at issue. We can use controversially as an adverb. For example, more controversially, he claims that these higher profits cover the cost of finding fresh talent. So the next time you remember this picture of these three people discussing or maybe even arguing about something, remember the word controversial and what it means. And now for the next key word, lavish. Now, if you look at this picture, it is obviously a bedroom. But if you look at the details and the kind of furniture that is in the bedroom, it looks a little bit expensive. So do you think that is related to the word lavish? Can we describe this bedroom as lavish? Let's find out. Now, lavish is an adjective. If you describe something as lavish, you remember that it is very elaborate and impressive, and a lot of money has been spent on it. Well, maybe not exactly this bedroom. It is close, but it is not exactly the lavish bedroom after we know what lavish means, but it is close. For example, he staged the most lavish productions of Mozart. These productions were elaborate, impressive, and a lot of money was spent on it. And synonyms for lavish in this context are the words grand, magnificent, splendid, and lush. We can use lavishly as an adverb. For example, the train's lavishly furnished carriages. And lavish can be used in a different context. If you say that spending, praise, or the use of something is lavish, you mean that someone spends a lot or that something is praised or used a lot. For example, critics attack his lavish spending and flamboyant style. And synonyms for lavish in this context are the words extravagant, wild, excessive, or exaggerated. And lavish can also be used in a different context. If you say that someone is lavish in the way they behave, you mean that they give, spend, or use a lot of something. For example, American reviewers are lavish in their praise of this book. And synonyms for lavish in this context are the words generous, free, liberal, or bountiful. We can also use lavishly here as an adverb. For example, entertaining in style needn't mean spending lavishly. And finally, if you lavish money, affection, or praise on someone or something, you spend a lot of money on them or give them a lot of affection or praise. For example, the emperor prompted the general and lavished him with gifts. And synonyms for lavish in this context are the words shower, pour, heap, or deluge. So the next time you remember the picture with the bedroom, remember the word lavish and what it means. And now for the next key word, revere. Now in the picture, we can see the picture of a fireman. If you think about it, the job of the fireman is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, alongside with soldiers and a couple of other jobs. But they do it anyway, and you don't expect them to get paid well enough to do this job. Actually, there is no price tag for the sacrifices these people give and the courage they present when accidents happen. So, for me, when I look at a picture of a fireman or when I see a fireman, I feel the utmost respect. So, could that have anything to do with the word revere? Let's find out. Now, revere is a verb. If you revere someone or something, you respect and admire them greatly. Just like what I said about firemen. For example, today he's still revered as the father of the nation. And synonyms for revere are the words be in awe of, respect, honor, and worship. We can use revered as an adjective. For example, some of the country's most revered institutions. So the next time you remember the picture of this fireman, remember the word revere and what it means. And now for the next key word, veto. Now let's look at this picture and we have a big no. So let's get to the point. Does veto mean saying no? Maybe everybody knows about it, or maybe you've heard about it before, but is it just like saying no to anybody, or is it a lot bigger than that? Let's find out. Now, veto is a verb. If someone in authority vetoes something, they forbid it or stop it being put into action. So it is not any person we're talking about here. We're talking about someone in authority. For example, they vetoed a draft resolution condemning the violence, or the Treasury vetoed any economic aid. Now, veto can also be used as a noun. For example, the veto was a calculated political risk. And veto is also the right that someone in authority has to forbid something. For example, we say the president's power of veto. And synonyms of veto in this context are the words ban, dismissal, rejection, or vetoing. So the next time you remember this picture of the big no, remember the word veto and what it means. And now for the next key word, orthodox. Now let's look at the picture. It is a picture that shows the inside of an Orthodox church. Usually the inside of Orthodox churches are filled with all these ornaments and icons and a lot of beautiful things that are handmade. But this is something most people know about, the Orthodox Church. Do you think we use Orthodox in another meaning or in other contexts that we can use in everyday language? Let's find out. Orthodox is an adjective. Orthodox beliefs, methods, or systems are ones which are accepted or used by most people. For example, many of these ideas are now being incorporated into Orthodox medical treatment. And synonyms for orthodox in this context are the words established, official, accepted, and received. And orthodox can also be used in a different context. If you describe someone as orthodox, you mean that they hold the older and more traditional ideas of their religion or party. For example, we say orthodox communists. So the next time you remember the picture of this church interior, remember the word orthodox and what it means. And now for the next key word, wince. Now, if you look at this picture, we can see that this man is closing his eyes, pressing his teeth together for a good reason. From the gestures on his face, we can tell that he is in pain, or at least he's thinking about something painful. But how does that relate to the word wince? Does wince have this meaning? Let's find out. A wince is a verb. If you wince, the muscles of your face tighten suddenly because you have felt a pain or because you have just seen, heard, or remembered something unpleasant. For example, every time he put any weight on his left leg, he winced in pain. And wince can also be used as a noun. For example, he suppressed a wince as motion renewed the pain. So the next time you remember the picture of this man with his eyes closed, remember the word wince and what it means. And now for the last key word for this chapter, trivial. Now, if you look at the picture, we have a stamp that says important notice. Do you think trivial has to do with important stuff, or is it just the opposite? And I've just chosen this picture to contradict the meaning of trivial rather than show it. Let's find out. A trivial is an adjective. If you describe something as trivial, you think that it is unimportant and not serious. For example, the director tried to wave aside these issues as trivial details that could be settled later, as unimportant, not serious details, trivial details. And synonyms for trivial are the words unimportant, little, small, and minor. So the next time you remember this envelope with a stamp that says important notice, remember the word trivial and what it means. And that is all for this chapter.